Hi there, guys. Welcome to the new season of What a Time to Podcast. Of course, you guys may remember me from the last season, the host, Fike the Real One. And of course, here we have the new co-host and CEO of WATTBA. You may as well say your own name.
Hey guys, it's AK, the new host and the CEO of WATTBA, founder, which I like a bit more, to be honest.
Okay, founder. That's
I like
fair.
the sound of founder a lot more.
I suppose you are a founder, yeah, it makes sense, right? Because we are still in the early stages of the WATTBA app.
I mean, I do some executive decisions.
Yeah, you do.
But right now, I'm preferring founder. Sounds a bit more pleasant.
It is a bit more pleasant, to be fair. I mean, we are still in the early phases of the podcast itself, but also the WATTBA app. And we are in the second season of the WATTPod now.
Season 2, finally.
Season 2,
Here
yeah.
we go.
Big changes this time now.
I mean, it's been going well already.
It has, yeah.
Right?
To be fair, the listeners and you guys have been great. I mean, we've had consistent listeners. That's the thing about podcasting, right? Is once you've built up that base, they do tend to stay.
Yeah.
So even though it is a slower build than doing normal viral videos, generally speaking, the people tend to stay. So we've got very consistent viewers, and we want to build upon that. So that's the idea of what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just like you said, we have loyal listeners and who do tend to listen to us mainly just because we are on the same wavelength. But at the same time, now with season 2, we wanna kind of give back now. We want to bring more knowledge to you because we know there's a lot of people who are potentially going into entrepreneurship, who want to start their own businesses or maybe lead the life where they're making decisions for themselves.
Yeah.
And those business decisions are very hard to take. However, if you're going to be listening to our podcast, we strongly believe that with our help and just listening to us, you'll be able to make those decisions a lot more efficiently and at the same time feel much better about them.
And that's the thing, right, is as much as we want to give back to you guys, I think that nicely links to our different format and how it helps. So we're actually going to really focus on bringing on guests. So every single week we're going to have someone new on here.
Yes.
These guys most of them are business owners or working with a business they started up in, really. Some are also workers in big level companies. We don't really discriminate. It's been both.
Yeah.
But most of them, generally speaking, are doing a journey where they do something on the side at a similar level, So you get real advice from people who are at a similar level going upwards, essentially the next step. And it's only for those guys to listen. So for you guys, it's also for us. So we've already done some recordings, actually, by the time this comes out. And I've already learned a lot. It's changed. But weirdly enough, it's not just... You'd imagine that these guys would give advice which is very technical. But actually, it's been not so much technical. It's been also the mental aspect.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's mainly because of the fact when they describe doing, what they do, I mean, especially with the person who wasn't within crypto.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
talking about.
Although I'm within tech, I work within tech, but still, when he was explaining so many, just explaining blockchain to me, and making it sound so easy, I mean, it was just so mind blowing to me just to understand grasp the concept of it, and he just made it so much easier for me.
It shows you the level though there, and what they do, because when you're able to explain something which seems complicated in a really simple manner, it actually shows you're an expert. And so clearly he is an expert, and most of our guests are. So and I think not only with him, the process that goes behind his thinking is really interesting.
Yeah.
So it gives you a really great insight. And for you guys, the listeners, you guys can take that insight on board, and we've taken that insight already. One of the things as well is how they work. So that same guest, and afterwards we had a chat, and he talked about some of the stuff he does behind it, and it sort of got us thinking, wow, actually, there's a different way of working where you can get more done. It's switching your thinking, switching your mindset slightly.
Yes. Yeah.
And those fine tuning kind of helps you go and make life a lot easier in all aspects.
I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because although we are the host of the podcast, at the same time, we're also the audience, because we are a startup, we are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And, whatever the advice they're giving, in reality, we are just kind of getting the advice for ourselves in a way. However, because we want to share it with the world and anyone who's watching or listening, you can benefit from the same knowledge that we're getting from our guests.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about podcasting is a lot of times you learn as a host, and people don't really talk about it. Like for myself, like just when I'm speaking to the guests and speaking to people who we meet through the app or the podcast, I tend to learn stuff not just only about our professional life but personally as well. And it shows you that it's interesting content, you know, for you guys, the listeners, because you guys are going to learn a lot, but then you'll see us going through the journey as well, you know, because we're going to take stuff on board.
Yeah.
We're going to hopefully grow as well moving forward. And then this podcast almost becomes an update because you'll see how we are. So we're going to give updates as well.
Oh, that'd be exciting.
But it's still a podcast, so you're getting really good content every week as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a vlog, if that makes sense as well, like
It
an
is.
update vlog.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But with different guests.
Yeah.
Which hopefully will make it more exciting, right?
Hopefully. I think, like just like you said, like anything that we are taking from the guest, we are going to be applying it for ourselves as well.
Yeah.
And I think potentially we might even put it out there every time we use some of those skills. Like, you know, the other day we had someone on that is within sales, and just kind of understanding the concept of, like, you know, because a lot of times, I mean, he put in such simple words, and these words I've heard it many times before, but after hearing a story and actually understanding, like, look, don't be afraid, just go for it. What's going to happen? All what will happen is they'll say no, and that's it. And he took that chance, and look at him today, he's doing amazing.
Yeah. I think that's not only sales, of course, you know, that particular aspect, but in general, these guys who are doing startups and starting a business, they kind of went down that route, all of them. Can't really speak. They all went down the same route, which is let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. And if you accumulate that with good work and a learning mindset, which is what we're doing. I mean, the reason why we're doing a podcast is so we can learn. And then you guys can benefit for that too, of course. That's another goal of ours. I think that's one of the key differences as well, sort of shifting the conversation from the last season. The last season was more about understanding a podcast, getting practice on it. I mean, you guys saw myself and the previous co-host as well, and when you were on there as well, you saw the development of how we podcasted. We did have one great guest on there as well, and I think that was probably our best episode as well, to be fair. So we learned from that, which is why we're doing things differently now. And on top of that, hopefully with the quality of the podcast, having different guests will keep it fresh, and that's what we want, right? You don't want the same episode every week. You want new and exciting episodes.
100%. So I mean, tell me a bit about yourself, Ike. Like, how are things going with you? Like, how do you feel? Where do we stand when it comes to WATTBA and WATTPOD itself?
I think with every startups or every beginnings, I think in general, right? You start and you have an idea how things go, and when you're in the field, you actually do most of your learning. It's really when you're going for it, when you're speaking to different people, when you're working on whatever it is, that's when you do your most learning. I personally learned that way really well as well. And I do feel like we've done that, or I've done that as well. And we're in a position where actually we can really focus, home back in and go back out really properly. I mean, you guys can check out the website. The website is a massive difference to where it was before, like a huge difference. And that's honestly through feedback and learning, really.
Yes.
Understanding what people want and taking that on board. Me personally, how my approach was before, it was limited because it relied on numbers, I feel. I mean, it relied on people. Whereas this time, because of that limitation, as you can see, we're not as many people as we were before. It kind of helped me think about a new way of approaching.
Yeah.
And it gives me more of a bigger outlook, not just something really simple, know, which I think long term is a lot better.
Yeah.
We've essentially, I feel like we're laying down strong foundations, not just physically but also mentally.
Yeah.
And it's going to take us a lot further, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think, and just because you just mentioned the website, right?
Yeah.
I think we should all, not just a improvement on the website, but now WATTPOD has a website.
It does, yeah.
Which is www.wattba.app/WATTPOD. So you can go on the website, you can check out the trailer, which was nicely recorded.
Yep.
It's actually one of my favorite pieces so far done. And it's a lovely website that we made, and also if you have any suggestions of guests, or maybe even yourself, where you think like, this is a podcast that I would like to be coming on as a guest, please fill out the form, and we would love to have you on as a guest and talk about your journey and your story, and especially where you're planning to go on to next.
And that's the thing as well, is like we're welcome to any guests. We want to get as many on as we can, really. So if you feel like you really want to do podcasting, even if you're just working in professional life, we're gonna have a conversation and see really what the value brings. And we'd love to have you guys on. I feel like one of the good things about a podcast already is I feel like I'm connecting to more people. We're connecting to more people as a company as well as a podcast. And that network is really important because, as we discussed with one of our other guests, the importance of networking isn't just for your own benefit. It's actually just to get little help here and there, but also for yourself. Sometimes when you don't reach out to people, you end up creating rivals in your head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas when you work together, you're getting benefits, but you're also getting rid of that negative aspect as well.
100%.
So the more the merrier, essentially, with the podcasting, right?
Yeah, the bigger the merrier.
Yeah, 100%.
What is the what do you think, like, what is sort of the industry that you are looking most forward to having on as a guest? Like, what type of guest would you want the most? I know it's a bit of a
it's a bit of a
put you on the spot there.
No, I mean, me personally, talking to any business owners is always interesting because I'm really interested in the process, in their story. I think the stories that we as people, we listen to stories, and podcasting, we want to give these stories out, which is what we're trying to press. And when someone has an interesting journey, so from where they were to where they are, as a professional, it's interesting to get their insight, but also just as the person, it's interesting to hear how they overcome obstacles, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say anything in particular because there are a variety of different guests. We had salespeople, bubble tea shop owners, crypto guys. We've had some people so far, and more coming soon.
Season 1, we had the barber.
Season 1, we had the barber as well, yeah. And what even the season 1, that story was interesting. We've had other interesting stories. I'm really interested to hear how different people and different personalities got to where they're at.
Yeah.
Because in reality, if everyone has natural strengths and weaknesses, right? And it's about utilizing your strengths and overcoming your weaknesses. So the good news is because people are different, most likely you're going to connect to a guest that you guys probably have similar traits to. And then you guys can learn, okay, I have a similar trait. What did this person do? And I found myself with guests as well, like listening to them. Like ones that comes to similar background as me.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, you may connect to someone in a certain aspect that you won't even realize initially. Yeah. But once you actually just talk to them a lot more, like there was an instant where, where someone was kind of speaking about, going for something they wanted to do. But, the people around them were just constantly saying, no, don't do it. But when that person told us that, they said, although I was scared to do it, I still went for it, and today I'm successful with it. When I heard that part, I was honestly like, how certain doubts in your heads, like in your head, just kind of just clears up. That is exactly what happened to me in that moment. Because although we're a startup and we have been, a startup for not a long time, but still maybe like just under a year now. We still feel that fear when it comes to like approaching certain people, when it's certain clients, businesses, because having that sense of being rejected is always there. Yeah. However, listening to those people share their stories and how they got rejected multiple times, but at the end it worked out with someone, and and they benefited from it as well. It just made 100%. Me realize that whatever we do, we just got to go for it. And although we may not know something, at the start, like before doing any of this, I didn't even know how to make a website. However, now working on it, I've been learning on it. We finally made a website. Yeah. And again, I'm just going to plug the website for WATTBA as well. Yeah. Because we are powered by WATTBA. It's www.whattba.app. The website has been improved, it has been changed, and has been catered for all the businesses within the beauty and grooming business for you to look at. So if you know someone, if you know your barber, if you know your hairdresser, if you know your salon, hairstylist, any salons, a beautician, a bridal makeup artist, a henna artist, any sort of person within the beauty and grooming industry, reach out to them, let them know about WATTBA, And our main goal is to basically just grow from here onwards.
Yeah.
Because we want to make a system that is robust for them, it's efficient for them, and at the same time is cheap, it's affordable, and we want to bring them new customers.
Yeah, that's
that is
the
our
main
main goal.
Yeah,
we want to bring
100%.
them new customers so that they don't have the issue of, okay, it's not just a booking solution, but we actually market your business out as well.
I think that's what's really interesting is we are in a position where we can work very closely to new customers, which is what a lot of is something that's lacking. I feel a lot of things become transactional, right? So you kind of do whatever, become a customer, whatever it is, and boom, that's it. Whereas we are people who really want to help, and we have to as well. We're in a position where we have to do that, and I think I actually really like that because we work closely not just with business units, we work closely with people. And tying that back into the podcast, I think that's what's benefiting me is I'm understanding how to talk to different people. I think we're both benefiting from that, and we can now have really good conversations and develop really good strategies, because it's about learning, right?
Yeah,
you have to learn every single day, and every business is different to their needs. They have different requirements. We want to help their market. We want to help those local businesses to be visible, because of the lower ones, they struggle with that, and we want to show that,
exactly. Yeah,
a lot of people are great at what they do, but they
Yeah.
don't have that visibility,
yeah,
and it takes time for them to grow.
especially new businesses, right?
Yeah, especially
Like
new
often what they
businesses.
struggle is like, okay, yeah, they have the physical business set up. However, we live currently in a market which relies heavily on online advertisement, and being able to market yourself out there online in the internet, especially to the youth, that is something that we specialize in.
Yep.
And that's how we can benefit those businesses to make sure that they are, they're basically getting the most for it.
Well, it is hard as well. Like when you open a new business, especially one which is focused on having some sort of shop, right? Some sort of service. You can be the most skillful person in the world. If you don't know how to market yourself, people aren't going to know who you are.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, really, because I know businesses myself who have actually shut down, and after them shutting down, the main reason being is because they haven't received customers, even though the skills were very good.
Yeah.
So one thing which we should address as well is the importance of growing and how we grew. So making tough decisions. One of the main reasons where we changed in laying our foundations was making these tough decisions. That was one of the reasons why we took a while really to get to this place and bring the podcast here, actually. Have a new set, find a new format. And I think a lot of that comes to reflecting. Not only reflecting on yourself, but reflecting on where you are.
Yeah. I think just as you were saying that, it just made me remember a lot of things.
Yeah.
Making tough decisions. I mean, it's quite obvious that, we're not
As many
people as we were. And that tough decision mainly came because of the fact that, us having to say or having to let go of people. Mainly because, although they were beneficial to the journey, however, probably not the best thing to say right now, but, the work efficiency for a passion is completely different to what you need to bring in when it comes to like work.
Yeah.
And our passion lays with WATTPOD, lays with WATTBA. And in order to translate that passion to other people, it's quite difficult. And sometimes, like we did, we actually had to let go a good percentage of the workforce that we had, and which then just left it with us. So, and also, I think, like at that time, there was a question like, are we going to keep going with this?
Yeah,
And
100%, yeah.
Coming to that decision, I mean, it was fairly easy, I think, for us. But at the same time, we probably never really spoke about it. Like, look, is it still worth doing?
Yeah.
Is it still worth doing, Fike?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, amazing.
Absolutely,
That's
yeah.
it.
Well, that's the thing, right? And when you reflect on yourself, it's always difficult because you get to a place where you're wondering, what am I doing wrong? And it's tough to face it, especially when you've kind of laid it to the side. And when you're doing it at a level when it comes to passion, it's a different kind of tough, because it's not really something that's just dependent on you. You have to look at the vision. You have to look at where you want to be. Sometimes going a step backwards means you're going forward, right? And you have to look at the longevity of the thing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw something today as well, which you showed to me actually, which is, it's not just about the goal, it's about the longevity. And sometimes we have to really look backwards and look at the core values. I think values, which goes with the vision, are certain people aligning with the values? If they're not, then you need to make a decision whether you want those values, because those people will dictate the values. People dictate values.
100%.
The company can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, it's the people that make the value, that create the culture.
Yeah. And I think, like, you know, as you just mentioned, longevity especially, like, you know, there was a instance within one of our episodes where someone mentioned it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people understand the concept of this. However, they're still, even although they understand the concept of, you know, that it's actually a long game rather than a short game, but actually applying that can be very, very frustrating. And but this is the moment where you need to, like, there's going to be moments where you need to overcome these frustrations, where you need to overcome, you know, those doubts, those downfalls. Failure is just an experience that you're going to be learning from, and then do better.
Yeah.
You need to constantly learn. Failure is not failure is only negative when you take it in a negative aspect.
Yeah.
But if you actually take it as learning, it's going to become a positive aspect, and it's just going to improve you as a person. Like when we had to let people go, to me, it came to an understanding of, look, you can't just rely on anyone. You can't just rely on someone saying, yeah, you know what, I'm on it. You need to be see actual proof. And honestly, like, you need to put it on them and let them know that, you know,
I think,
you're passionate for it and you want to go for it.
But I think that was the tough part, is a lot of energy was spent on getting people on it, that we kind of forgot of why we're doing it, because our minds were somewhere else, right? And at the same time, like you mentioned, I think one of the reasons why we came to the point of what now is because it was so different, and because I think when you're in a certain culture, you can become accustomed to it, and when it's not there, even though human beings, we don't like change, even though it's good for us, naturally we don't.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's like, okay, what now? But we had to really look into ourselves and essentially take a day at a time, keep going, keep building. Sometimes motivation comes from just doing something.
It's a long game, man. It's a long
game, yeah. But everything that you do, you get motivation with it. So when you do something once, you do it again. When you build and build upon it, it becomes like a snowball effect. Like, we only got to the point now where we're really recording, getting people on.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a big step. And that sort of gave a little bit of spark back. But essentially, our change in mindset is, it's not short-term goals and just goals and goals and goals. It's, what are we doing now to benefit the big vision, right? And that's really important as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I think especially with this podcast as well. I mean, although it's a marketing tool for us.
Yeah.
However, this is also a kind of a space for us just to kind of let go of what is on our mind. And again, like, it's something where our viewers and listeners, they can learn from, and especially ourselves as well.
Yeah.
However, you know, we are two individuals who like conversations, and through these conversations, like, this is what, like, we are the person that we are today because of all these conversations that we had with various sort of people. And hopefully with this podcast, we can just continue doing so.
And that's, I think, so interesting, learning in different experiences, because we've had our own experiences we've learned from, but listening to other stories, we're learning from their experiences as well. So we're accumulating that together, and essentially learning from other people's failures is always better than learning from your own ones.
Yeah.
Even though their own ones are the most difficult to overcome. And look, that even though we are podcasters, we're actually great listeners. That's what we try and aim to be.
Yeah.
And you guys are hopefully going to see that with our guests coming up. And yeah, I mean, I think the key message of WATTBA has always been, be the best version of yourself, right?
Be the best version of yourself.
And the only way you can be the best version of yourself is if you're actually willing to listen and change to a degree as well, to evolve.
To evolve. That's what we're here for. And we want to evolve together. We want to evolve with WATTBA. We want to evolve with WATTPOD. And you, our listeners, and our loyal viewers and listeners, we want to make sure that we give the best quality of advice that is out there for you. These are the guests that we're getting on. They are entrepreneurs who have succeeded in the field. They're established businesses who have accomplished many traits and many various sort of goals that they have set them out for themselves, and people who are working within business. Success does not just mean entrepreneurship, but it also means that you are you're going for the career that you want. Sometimes you see, whether it's like a TV series or anyone in a magazine or anything like this, where you see someone becoming very, they become very famous for the fact of what they do. But what they do is there's not much of a difference between that person and you. The only difference is they have been pursuing it and they've been working hard for it. And this is what we're trying to get most people within this who are listening to this podcast to understand. The hard work and effort will always pay off.
And so I think quite often when we see a business, we see the byproduct, when in actuality it's a byproduct of the person they are. They have grown as people, which you guys are going to see. You're going to see how they are like. You see the core person, and it'll be very easy to understand. Like we found it after speaking to the person. Okay, that's why you're successful. That's why your business is doing so well. It's because of who you are. And we're trying to understand how they got to that point. That's what you guys are going to understand as well. And ultimately, we want to develop ourselves. So this podcast, the app can be an extension of ourselves. But we have to work here first. And that's going to be the goal of the podcast for us and for the listeners as well. Exactly.
But I'm looking forward to all the episodes coming out. I'm very excited for everyone listening and viewing them. And hopefully, as episodes are going to be coming out and releasing, we will constantly improve. We will constantly, try to bring the knowledge that you're seeking as well. So leave a comment on what you want. Reach out to us. You can reach out to us. Just look in the description, and or if you can't look at the description, it's WATTPOD@WATTBA.app. You can email us with any sort of suggestion. You can tweet at us. You can Instagram at us. You can contact us in various ways. Just follow our socials.
You can DM us as well, like on the Instagram pages. If you guys even want to come on, let us know. We're going to be very open to listen. We're going to be very active as well, very active. And I think that pretty much covers it. I think the final message is really join us on the journey.
Join us on the journey.
I like that.
Done. I like that. Thank you. Take care. Subscribe and like.
Subscribe, definitely.
We need to work on that.
We need to work on that. No, you guys subscribe, like the video, share it as well.
Share it.
And we'll see you guys very soon.
Take care.
Take care.